I have been filming all day and I'm completely exhausted. I just changed into pajamas. But I did promise I was going to get a video out today. Someone commented this morning on one of my videos about constant imperfect action, understanding that that is the likely way to move forward, which I agree it is, but the difficulty about what happens when it's not so measurable. When we do small incremental growth, it's harder to feel good about and celebrate the small wins because it doesn't ever feel like we're getting far enough. You know, it's even with weight, you lose a pound or two, you don't feel it until your pants are loose enough. And it's also hard to stick with it when you're not feeling like you're taking big leaps. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. There's a Chinese philosophy called Kaizen, which is slow, incremental, consistent growth. And I agree with that completely. Now, the thing is this. We do like the big wins. It's nicer to feel like you tackled something or you climbed a mountain. But there's also the snapback, which people forget about that part. So when you do a quantum sort of leap, when you change something very dramatically, it's like a rubber band being pulled and then there's a pullback. So you could be either self-sabotaging or you start upper limiting. Sorry about the lighting. It's very bright outside all of a sudden. And then you have to recover from that extreme stretch that you did of, I went all the way up here and then I don't know where to go now, so I'm going to slide all the way backwards. Now the key is to not slide backwards, obviously. I'm going to move you a little bit. The key is not to slide backwards, obviously, but it's just human nature. We can't help it. It's what we naturally do, is go backwards. So when you have this consistent imperfect action, the thing that most people forget about is who you become on that journey. What does it feel like when you start to move those small things? Sorry about my messy desk, just real Shari life. Most of who you become happens on the journey, not when you win the prize, not when you get up on stage, not when you land that big client. It's that incremental, imperfect action is what changes you. It changes your mindset. It changes you feeling like a fraud and an imposter. It shows you that you have the stamina and diligence to keep going. It also teaches you what you're really made of. And I know that sounds a little hokey, but it's true. If you win on day one, the next time it happens, you have that doubt in your mind, well, if all things are not perfect, then how am I going to recreate that? But when you show up every day, and it doesn't always have to be a grind, it's just showing up for yourself first every day, maintaining your energy to believe in yourself, and slowly building that confidence and practicing that muscle that you have, then you can lift heavier. Then you can take bigger chances, and they feel less scary. Now, the other day I talked about fears and comfort zones, and it comes across the same thing with constant imperfect action. If you're only waiting for the perfect action to take place, it's like you're in the playground trying to jump on one of those spinny things at the exact right time. Most likely you'll be sitting on the bench most of the time. But if you're willing to challenge yourself to take that incremental growth, to test yourself that when things don't work out perfectly, you'll tweak it a little bit, or to ship stuff you're not sure is ready, or to put yourself out there before you feel like it's 100% done, that's when you see, silly enough to say, okay, first, I didn't die, which is huge. Secondly, I actually like the way it felt, or I want to do it a little differently next time. You build a resilience, and that resiliency is what makes things happen. Not only the action, but the ability to do it again and again. The ability to learn from your mistakes, learn from the practice that you're taking, so that it becomes more by rote to take action. The actions become bigger and bigger, your fear gets smaller and smaller, and your confidence and belief in yourself to be able to do anything once you do one thing only happens when you start. You can read 1,000,000 books and never move a step. You can just dive in and belly flop. You'll learn more than the pile of books next to your bed. Now, it's always great to educate yourself, but unless you're trying out the stuff that you keep putting in your mind, consuming other people's content or comparing yourself to somebody else in business won't get you where you want to go. Someone else's success doesn't take away from your success. There's enough clients out there for everyone. There's enough projects for enough people. I don't believe in competition because no one can be me. Can someone take more action than me? Absolutely. And I have to sit in the realization that that's on me, not on them for taking action. So instead of comparing yourself to everything you see around you, use it as inspiration to say, what can I do more today that I didn't do yesterday that will change tomorrow? Or what did I do today that worked that I can do again tomorrow to prove to myself that I can do it again and to show tomorrow that I'm coming after it? So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about this consistent imperfect action and learning to measure the smaller stuff instead of only the big wins, don't take for granted the fact that you show up every day. Don't take for granted that you haven't quit or slid back to an old job or an old philosophy you used to have, or an image of yourself that just isn't true anymore. The growth happens on the way. So focus on the journey part. Don't worry about the goal, because lots of times the goal change or the goalpost moves and you want something completely different, but you wouldn't be able to see it until you turn that corner of taking the action, of growing in the midst of discomfort. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this, and I will see you tomorrow in another Daily Shot of Shari.